Hi, welcome to Postland. Today we have another special episode, and I have a very, very special guest with me, Charles Poliquin. I was thinking how I would introduce you because your resume is so, I don't even know how to say it. It's great.
Extensive.
Yes, but the best way I come up with is if a country wanna win a gold medal, you are the coach they call.
Correct.
You are the top strength coach there is at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say. What is your key to your success that you are so well known and respected in this industry?
Well, success leaves clues,
Mm-hmm.
and when you're successful, people seek you out. So, the best way to have a stellar reputation is to produce results. So, I had a reputation before the internet, which a lot of my colleagues didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
But I put my first guy on the Olympic team in 1978. So, also, I was doing this job way before it was popular.
And way before you was known.
Or before it's known.
Mm-hmm.
And I had my first Olympic medalist. I was 23. So then after that, athletes talk among themselves at the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always worked word of mouth. And over the years, if you say, how did you get to train so-and-so, I can go up the tree and tell you where it started. So they all relate to my first guy and then went down.
It went down. But when you do your seminars, we just had a 2-day seminar with you, and you give a lot of your secrets. You
Mm-hmm.
tell the way you train people, you answer every question they ask. So how come if coaches come to your seminar to learn, but they still don't even come close to your level?
And there's a trick to that. Do today what the others will copy tomorrow. So what I do today is not what I did last year. So I always keep a bit of a winning edge. So,
Yes.
But I have no qualms about telling what is successful because if you don't leave it, there's a Japanese proverb that says, you're not a good teacher unless you make somebody better than you.
That's a good point.
So I have good students that do well. I would think that no one has beaten me yet, but I'm not dead yet. So.
You come from a religious family.
Yeah.
And what did your parents think when you chose to go to library instead of church on Sundays?
They didn't know.
They didn't. They didn't see you there.
No, they didn't see me there. Well, my parents would go at a different church time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, by then, I was too old to try to convince me.
Okay.
I wouldn't say my family was very religious, but they were practicing Catholics, yes.
Okay. But and when you was doing all the reading in library,
Yeah.
and after you read pretty much everything there was to read about strength coaching and what was interesting to you, you start looking information from other countries, and you came to Finland.
Yes.
Why Finland, and who did you come to see?
I came to see Paavo Komi, who is a top researcher from Finland, very well respected in my community. I went to see him in Jyväskylä, but I first met him in Freiburg, University of the Black Forest, with Dr. Schmidblecker. But the best research in the world in strength training is Finnish.
Really?
By far. Like, I remember reading stuff in 1970,
Listen.
in 1978, which I still use today, and the research was Finnish. The Finns have not, I think scientifically, the Finnish mind is probably one of the best in the world. And I always tell my students, if it's from the Jyväskylä lab, you can trust the results. Because I have found that whatever they find in their labs has always worked out in real life.
So,
Well, a lot of labs say this, but it's not true.
So when was the first time you came to Finland?
1982.
And how often do you come?
Now I come every 2 years.
Okay.
It's probably going to increase. I really like it here. I mean, my daughter loves Finland and Helsinki. I like the Finnish attitude. They're very skeptical. And because they're skeptical, then it forces me to make them understand better.
Okay.
So I think it's a very interesting culture.
What do you think about Finnish athletes?
The Finns are probably not doing as well as they could do because of lack of support, financially.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, good information from universities doesn't cross over to the Olympic Committee. So you have countries who don't have a lot of education, they do well because they have the right coaches. And there's countries with a lot of good information, but the coaches don't know the information.
And they don't know how to
Classic
use it.
case is Canada. Would I go see a Canadian exercise physiologist to write a program? No. But we have a very strong Olympic program. But what has made Canada a strong Olympic program, and Australia, is the importation of foreign coaches. And those coaches teach us things, and then those athletes learn it, and when they start coaching their own national team, they've picked up a lot of stuff. So in the 70s, as the Berlin Wall was starting to crack, I mean, it took quite a few years after before it was dismantled, but any good foreign communist coach would defect either to Canada or Australia, not to the US. So it really improved our knowledge and the Aussies' knowledge.
Let's see. What is your proudest achievement?
As a strength coach?
Yes.
Probably.
In your life? Well, yeah, and a coach, yes.
Okay, as a coach, I would say Adam Nelson winning the Olympic gold in shot put, but he won it 8 years after he won the silver medal. What happened is that he got beat by a Ukrainian, and it took 8 years to discover which drug the Ukrainian had in his body, and then Adam became number one, but he was also world champion here in Helsinki. The unfortunate thing is that your window to make money as an Olympic athlete is the 2 weeks after the Olympic Games. So despite the fact that he was the best in the world but didn't win until 8 years later, affected his financial future.
Okay.
And the reason why it's my proudest is that he's the shortest shot putter in the world to throw that far. Because height makes a big difference. So if you can win the Olympic gold and be short, that means that you're strong, which is what I'm responsible for. As a human being, the best thing I'm most proud is the way I raised my daughter. Everybody who meets my daughter is very surprised how for a teenager she's well behaved and polite and so on. But I invest time in my daughter. So
yeah, you told about that in the seminar.
Yeah, so you want to be a good parent. It's like the same. You want to be a good piano player. You want to be a good strength coach or a good trainer. You have to put time. Yes. And the average father in the U.S. only spends 59 seconds with their kids.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Well, because dad is texting and kid is texting, or
TV and computers.
Yeah.
What is there you seek to achieve that you haven't achieved yet?
World domination.
World domination.
No, as a joking aside, I want to create the best website in the world as being the reference value for training information.
Have you started it yet?
Yes. It's going to be a paying membership because it takes money to write good information. Should be available in less than 2 months.
Okay.
But we predict that we're going to have at least 20,000 people a month in the first month, which is a lot.
Yes.
Because people are used not to pay. So if you can convince 20,000 people to buy, you've actually talked to 300,000.
You try to learn a new skill every year. Why do you do that? And what have you learned? What are those skills that you have learned so far?
Okay.
Name a few, because if you do that every year, then we don't have
Okay,
much.
for example, the reason why I do it is that the main reason why people's brain age is not because they don't learn anything new, it's because they don't learn any new physical skills. So your best way for your brain to not age is to learn new physical things. So I shoot very well, so then I learned to shoot not looking into the
little
to your I forget the name now, but to your sights.
Yes.
So I don't shoot through my sights. So I learned to shoot with bent elbow. Then I got really good at that. Then I learned how to prepare food the ancestral way. So I learned that. Then after that, I went back to shooting. I learned to shoot high-powered rifles because I'm good with a pistol, not good with a rifle. So, and then a lot of times it's actually my students who have a special skill, and I hired them to teach me that. You know, I learned 6 different martial arts. So every year,
6 different.
Yeah, I'm a black belt in 3, and I've learned another 3 more. So that I really like. The problem with those is that you need to be in the same spot all the time. Now with the paying website, I won't be on the road so much. So and I love martial arts. I think it's the best form of legal stress management. So I'm allowed to hit people, and I don't go to jail. And but I've done things like learning how this high-speed drive. I've learned. I do something different every year, but it's kind of random the way I pick it. You know, if I meet somebody that does something that interests me that I don't know, I'll just seek out that teacher. But people are too cheap to pay for information. Will fall by the wayside. We live in the age of information, so the more information you have, the better you are. Learning how to shoot as a strength coach allowed me actually to get contracts with special forces and police forces, because when they talked about guns and how to handle guns, I knew what they were talking about. So every skill helps.
Every skill helps, yes. If we talk about bodybuilding, it's known that bodybuilders need a strong mind to be able to continue with the strict training. Is there a type that you would not recommend bodybuilding? And how fast can you recognize that type?
It's pretty fast if you know what to look for. But bodybuilding, if you really look at it, the difference between the great ones and the medium ones is pain threshold.
Pain what?
Threshold. How much pain can they endure? The other thing, can they delay gratification? In other words, not eating all this stuff for 3 months and sticking to your diet means that you're willing to do those efforts and sacrifices so the day you win Mr. Olympia, then you could splurge. But, you know, delay gratification and vision, doesn't matter what you try to be successful at, you know. Luckily, last month I was in Melbourne teaching for Schwarzenegger at the Arnold Classic. And I got the privilege to listen to a private interview with him. And he said, there are 2 rules to goal setting. 1, learning to say no to the naysayers. And number 2, the goal has to be grandiose enough because it takes as much time to go for a small goal than a big goal. And he said, if I didn't listen to the naysayers and if I didn't have a grandiose goal, I would still be yodeling in Australia. So, you know, he's a very funny guy, but it's true.
Yes. If we talk about supplements, this is actually a question that was asked by my viewers. What supplement you would recommend for people regardless of their amount of training and dieting?
Are we talking fat loss, general health?
Well, let's say general health and fat loss.
Okay, it's possible because if you're fat, you're unhealthy, so they do cross-reference. Is your audience Finnish?
Yes.
Well, vitamin D3 is the Finn's best friend. Finns are very deficient in D3. That's one of the reasons why the suicide rate and depression rate is so high. So number two, Finns tend to eat way too many grains. So I would say fish oil is super important. Because they eat a lot of grains, they excrete a lot of magnesium. So my third best choice for Finns or Estonians, probably Russians and Latvians, anybody living north is actually magnesium.
Magnesium.
Mm-hmm.
I've recently met and interviewed Dimitri,
Yes.
and you have worked with him.
Mm.
You spent a month with him.
Mm.
How did you meet him, and how did you end up working with him for that month?
I met Dimitri through Dane McDonald, who's our agent when we teach in Australia. And he's a very unique character, but he's a very pleasant man.
Mm.
He's hard to get to know, but
What do you mean by it's hard to get to know?
he's very private.
Yes.
But I found that if you're on his good side, you're on his good side for life. And sometimes when he would answer, he would give my answers. And I would give Dimitri's answers. So we got along very well. He's the strongest man in the world, but he's probably one of the most intelligent athletes I've ever met. I mean, this guy's going somewhere. I know athletes are talented, but this guy's talented in the muscles and in
the brain.
Yeah.
Actually, during the seminar of these 2 days, I was looking at you and thinking you two together, and I can really tell why you like.
Sure.
Yes, because you have a same type of personality, a little bit.
Yeah, that would be a fair statement.
Yes. 2 important questions.
Yes.
Next. What is the 2 most important things you have learned last year?
Most important things is that being grateful helps you manifest more what you do. I've been doing a grateful log since 2006, but I'm now more convinced of its power. I also more and more convinced of tithing. Tithing means when you donate 10% of your money to charities. I've been doing that since 1986.
And you actually teach that to your daughter too?
I teach it to everybody. And when people, this is a basic principle. Whatever you want out of life, you have to give it away. Once you give it away, you're showing the universe that you're willing to lose it, and the universe rewards you by giving you more. So if you want more money, for example, you give away money. If you want service, you give out service. For example, 10% of the athletes I coach to Olympic medals, I never charged them because they didn't have the money. So 100% of the time, it came back into either contact or it doesn't really matter. And the thing that you have to keep in mind is you don't give to receive, you give to give. And the more you give to give and not expect a reward, the bigger the reward.
That's good things.
Yes.
Last question. What do you know that no one else knows that you wish people to know?
My answer would be the benefits of full squatting. Few people know what it is, but in my opinion, in this time and day where information is readily available on Google, I'm amazed that people still ask me, isn't full squat bad for your knees? It's like, shit, everybody should know that. And especially orthopedic surgeons. But if orthopedic surgeons promoted the benefits of full squats, they wouldn't do surgeries. So medicine's a very funny profession because if you do it properly, you have less clients.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So they have no real interest to help out the patient. Of course, there's very good doctors who will help out the patients, and they get more clients because they are generous with their time, and then people refer them. So if they change their attitude, in old China, when you were a doctor, you were paid to keep the patient healthy. And if the client got sick, you had to pay him back.
Really?
Yeah, which I think is a good system, because if you did that, for example, in Finland, if doctors would only get paid if the patient is healthy, there'd be a serious change in attitude.
The way of
They would administer medicine. It would cost less. So everybody would save money. For example, if you going to need heart surgery, in some countries like New Zealand, they tell you, we're not going to pay for your heart surgery unless you do chelation. Chelation costs $2,000. Surgery costs $70,000 to $150,000. The reason the New Zealand government does that is because they just want to save money. But if you look at it, it's much healthier for the patient when you do preventive care.
But then there's a risk, like let's say when you get a client, and let's say you would have the same system. If the client fails to get to the goal and will ask money back from you.
Mm-hmm.
But what if the client don't do what you tell them to do?
That's
How can you prove that?
You need to choose the right client. Because the way I would do it is that I would train someone. Let's say if I did that in my business. I would say, I won't charge you until you've done 4 workouts. And within 4 workouts, I know if they'll work for me and themselves. And you could apply the system. But I've always given 100% money back guarantee to my clients.
You do?
And
have you ever had to return?
No, what I did is I fired the client. I give them their money, but I said, you don't work hard enough. And one guy, I gave him, he trained with me 50 weeks. And 2 weeks before the expiry of his contract, I gave him 100% of his money. Because I said, there's something you're not telling me that you're doing. I'm not getting any results. So I like to keep my reputation. Here's the money. And oddly enough, this guy kept sending me clients. So it doesn't make any sense. He had no results with me, but he sends me clients. 5 years later, on a Sunday night, I get a call at home. It's him. I said, how can I help you? So he took a personal growth seminar, and one of the homework he had was to phone people he screwed over. And he said, I screwed you over. And I said, how did you screw me over? I was a cocaine addict and had food binges. So by that time I had paid him money, but I was more interested in what did he do, because I don't do recreational drugs. I don't know what cocaine does. And he said, for example, he would take an entire loaf of sliced bread, put peanut butter, put jam, and drink 4 liters of milk. Well, that's pretty hard to lose weight on that program. So he said, I'm sending you a check tomorrow.
With the money that you gave him back?
I said, keep the money. I said, you send me so many referrals. If I give you 10% for every client you sent me, I owe you more money. But I said, now I know why you sent me people, is that you knew you sabotaged your results and gave me the money. Yes. So it was guilt talking. But what made me not ask for money is that it gave me the relief that I didn't screw up as a coach. That my intuition were right. He was, but I'm not one to blame. For like I would work extra hours to give him better programs and monitor them. But because I don't do recreational drugs, I couldn't conceive someone doing that to themselves. And it was a good lesson.
Can I ask one more question?
Of course.
That I think our Finnish audience would like to know. During this seminar, you told your about your coaching system, and what was surprising to me, that you never do meal plans,
No.
and you never give the amount what people should eat. Like in Finland, bodybuilders and fitness competitors, they get meal plans from their coach that says 30 grams of this, 100 grams of this, and so on. But you never do that. Why is that?
The main reason is that people have to learn self-regulation. This is my philosophy. When my back is turned, are they doing the right thing? So when you give quantities, people get quite neurotic about that. So no neurosis, more compliance.
So if you give them exactly what they need to do, they can't follow
Then
that.
if they eat an extra bite, they feel bad. If they feel bad, they eat more. Then they eat McDonald's and French fries. So it's like a downward spiral.
So how do you teach them how to do the right choices?
I tell them what the right choices are. Quantities is up to them. So they have to self-regulate their own appetite.
Yes.
And if they can't regulate their appetite, they don't need a strength coach. They need a psychiatrist.
So now you know. Thank you, Charles. This was a really honorable moment for me, and I want to thank you for this 2 days and for this interview, and hopefully I'll meet you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Kiitos.
much. Kiitos, and thank you.